he escaped the war. He was just 12 years old, but survival was only the beginning. This isn't a story about the battlefield. It's a story about the silence that follows. Stick with me, because some battles never truly end. And what you're about to hear will change how you think about memory, trauma, and the echoes of what we leave behind. Make sure you're subscribed, because this is just the start. He ran through the night, a small shadow against a landscape of fear. He crossed borders that were just lines on a map until they became walls of razor wire. He hid in the suffocating darkness of trucks, the rumble of the engine, a poor substitute for a heartbeat. Against all odds, he made it out. He arrived in a new country, a place that was supposed to be safe. And that's when the real silence began. The war was over, but a new one, a quieter one, had just declared itself inside him. No one asked him what he saw, not really. They asked if he was hungry, if he was cold, if he needed new shoes. But the questions that mattered, the ones that could have unlocked the prison in his mind, were never spoken. No one asked what he had lost, who he had left behind. So he stopped talking. What was the point? The words were trapped anyway, like birds in a cage. He stopped sleeping because the darkness behind his eyes was more terrifying than any real-world night. He would just stare at the blank, sterile walls of his new room, a canvas for the ghosts only he could see. And he started to draw. He drew pictures of fire, angry orange and red crayons snapping under the pressure of his small hand. He drew smoke, thick and black, obscuring everything. When a kind but clueless foster parent finally knelt down and asked what happened back there, his answer was chilling. He looked at them, his eyes old and empty, and said, "I don't remember the war. I remember what came after." It wasn't the bombs he remembered most clearly. It was the silence, the deafening, crushing silence of being the only one who knew the truth of the flames. His memory was a shattered mirror. He'd catch a glimpse of a reflection, a fragment of the past, but it was never whole. He remembered a scream, a high-pitched, desperate sound that cut through everything. It was followed by the feeling of a hand, strong and urgent, pulling him. He remembered a door slamming shut, a final, definitive sound, but he didn't know whose voice had screamed. He didn't know whose hand had saved him. And then there was the girl. He remembered a girl, a wisp of a memory, with laughing eyes and a ribbon in her hair. He remembered playing a game with her just before the sky turned red. He tried to describe her, to ask about her, but no one else remembered her. The adults who came from his village, the other survivors, they shook their heads. There was no girl like that, they'd say, their own eyes clouded with grief. Was she real? or just a figment, a beautiful lie his mind had created to protect him from a harsher truth. He remembered her laughter, and then he remembered the silence that swallowed it whole. And the silence, it seemed, remembered him. It clung to him, a constant companion, whispering things he couldn't quite understand. Years passed. The boy became a young man, the drawings locked away in a dusty box. He was functioning, but he wasn't living. He was a ghost in his own life. A therapist, a patient woman with kind eyes, finally asked him the question he'd been avoiding his whole life. She leaned forward and said, gently, "It seems like these memories cause you so much pain. Do you want to forget?" He looked back at her, a hollow smile touching his lips. "I already did," he said. But his hands betrayed him. The drawings had started again, not of fire this time, but of something more concrete. One day, he found himself sketching without thinking, his hand moving with a will of its own. When he looked down, he saw a house. It wasn't just any house. It was the house, the one from before, the one he ran from. Every detail was perfect. The cracked porch step, the crooked shutter, the rose bush by the door. And then his hand moved to the window, the one on the second floor. Slowly, meticulously, he drew a face. A small, terrified face, peering out from the darkness within. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was his own. He hadn't escaped from the house. He had been locked out of it. The hand pulling him wasn't pulling him to safety. It was pushing him away. And the scream. The scream was coming from inside. He survived the war, but he almost didn't survive the silence. He was the one who was left, the one who was saved, but the memory he'd buried was that he wasn't the only one there. The face in the window was a twin, a brother he had forced himself to forget. Some stories are not over when the fighting stops. They are still being written in the quiet moments, in the therapy sessions, in the drawings that refuse to be ignored. The past is never really past. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story touched you, please hit that subscribe button. Come back tomorrow, where we explore another story of memory and mystery in The Girl Who Spoke to Shadows. You won't want to miss it.